Hello friends, welcome into my craft room. Today we're going to be making some spring crafts. I hope you enjoy them. Now come along and let's make something beautiful for our homes. For this project we're going to be using one of these large signs, a tag sign from the Dollar Tree, some florals, and some fabric. I'm going to be using a denim fabric, a leftover wall tile that I've spray painted white. I just wanted to repurpose this leftover piece, and then a piece of cardstock. Now you could skip this entire part right here if you do not need to freehand a mason jar. There are also lots of free images online where you can print them out on a piece of paper and cut them down. Now you can see here that I have 3 lines. I drew one down the middle of the paper. It doesn't have to be perfect. I went 2.5 inches off, that's where those 2 dots are, drew some more lines. I drew a line at the top and the bottom, and that is going to be the glass part of the jar on how long you want it to be. And then you can see that I have 2 more on the inner, and then another 2 more going vertical. We're making all of these grid lines and boxes because we need to be able to make an even symmetrical rounded top for the top of the jar, and then these top 2 boxes in the middle, the top row. This is the neck of the jar. I'm going to make some little bumpy lines here so we know that's where the cap screws on. And then down at the bottom we're going to add 2 little dots, and we're going to curve out a smaller curved in line. The top of a mason jar is more curved and rounded versus the bottom. It's got a wider base. Once all of those lines have been drawn, I hope that was simple to follow along. I was trying to show it as simple as possible. Once you've drawn all your lines, just cut it out. You have this perfect large mason jar to work with. Or like I said, you could just go online and find an image and print that and cut that out. I'm going to take my image, trace it onto my tile, cut apart that piece that I need, pull off that plastic sticker backing because it comes apart when you cut those tiles, and then put it to the side. Now I took off the bow and the string from my tag, and I'm going to pull my fabric really tightly onto my tag. I know it looks a little bit wrinkled, but you won't notice that in the end once it's all glued down nice and tight. I took my scissors and cut off the extra going all the way around my tag, and I really liked this option. Taking sandpaper to denim is actually really cool because it distresses the sides perfectly. So I just roughed it up, and then any little fibers that were too long I didn't like, I just trimmed those off. But I really loved how distressed the denim looked on the side of the tag. Now we're going to glue down the mason jar vintage tile that we worked on earlier. Glue that right down in the middle towards the bottom of your tag. Make sure it's straight. You can see here I adjusted it before the glue dried. And this is such a quick way to distress these tiles. I'm using a black ink pad, lightly tapping the top, and then I'm coming back in with a chestnut brown and just lightly tapping on top of the black, and it gives it a distressed look. Now I'm going to bring in my florals. This is going to turn out so beautiful at this point. I'm adding in Dusty Miller. I'm adding in a new floral they brought out at the Dollar Tree. These are ranunculus flowers. I love a ranunculus flower in the springtime. And then I'm going to bring in some of these little greenery desert flowers. I just like the look of the white being in there, but any small white flower you might have on hand would work. And then to finish the look, I'm going to add a twine bow, trim the tails of my bow, and at this point, it's so pretty and ready for spring. They have these beautiful canister jars, and I loved the size of this glass. Now we're going to put that lid to the side because we're not going to be using that on this project. But I love this glass jar because jars like this are super high-end at super expensive high-end home decor stores. So I'm going to show you how we're going to get that look without having to pay those ridiculous prices. This jar was $1.25. So go ahead and take your painter's tape, and you can see here that I've got probably about a third of the jar at the bottom that I'm going to be leaving exposed. But from the rest up, the other 2/3, I'm going to cover that up with some painter's tape, take it outside, spray paint it a beautiful crisp satin white. Once that is nice and dry and you took off the painter's tape, go ahead and pick whatever floral you want. I'm going to be using some of these Real Touch tulips because I just love these things. I'll link them down below, but I just get mine from Amazon. Go ahead and gather them together in a cluster. As I work with them, I like to kind of zigzag the stem a little bit. That makes them look more realistic and falling all over the place in that beautiful jar we just gave some life to. Then go ahead and tie on a beautiful bow. I'll link this ribbon down below. I love this ribbon too. Another thing I love to do when I go to thrift stores is I love to look for different items that I can bring together as one. So this lantern, I'm going to take off all of this super busy stuff on top of it. Boy, was it ever glued on. I actually had to break the top a little bit to get that to come off because it was wired and super glued onto the top, well, probably hot glued, onto the top of this lantern. So I finally got it off. You could see that it was wired on there, and I needed that little nub part for the little handle to go into. And then I'm just going to take my Cricut scraper and I'm just going to scrape all that garbage off of there, glue the top part back on as well as the handle, getting that all back in place, and then I can finally take it outside to spray paint it. But before I do that, because I want to still see the pretty glass, I made sure that I came back in with my painter's tape. A quick tip that I like to do with painter's tape is that instead of struggling with trying to cut the most perfect piece ever, because that just takes way too long, I like to come in, layer on my tape, and then after I get everything all pushed into the grooves and the crevices that I can, I take my craft knife and then I just cut along and score that edge. That is going to save you so much time doing it that way versus trying to perfectly cut a piece of tape. It's like almost impossible. So this way, it makes you feel like you're not going to lose your mind when you're trying to preserve the glass, keep it clean, and keep it simple. That's my favorite way to do it. Keep it clean, keep it simple. So then I also am going to take this other piece. These are the two pieces I'm bringing together. This was a candle holder. It is so pretty when you bring these two together. Now you can see I took them both outside, spray painted them white with a flat white paint, and now I'm going to come in and do some farmhouse distressing because I love me some farmhouse. And I'm just going to go along the edges, some areas where hands might be touching, and I'll go a little bit heavier in those spots. But in general, I don't like to go too rustic with my stuff. I still want to see the white coming through. So once I did the lantern, I'm coming through on that candle holder. And the crazy thing is the round circle on this candle holder is the perfect exact size needed for the bottom of this lantern. When I put these two together, I kind of squealed in the thrift store and someone looked at me. I get a little wild in the thrift stores. Maybe one of these days I will take you all with me on a thrift store hunt and we can do a video for that. Leave a comment down below or give this video a thumbs up and let me know if you would love to go for a thrift hunt with me in a video. But then I just basically took off the painter's tape, and anything that bled through, I'm going to use my scraper again and just come through and clean up that little bleed through, pop it on top so that I can turn it on and off when I want, and it's got a beautiful finished look that saved me tons of money. Altogether, this project cost me $3.50 to make. Can you believe that? These sell for so much at stores. I was so excited to find these wall organization pieces. They're $5 each in the Dollar Plus section at the Dollar Tree. We are going to take 4 of them, 2 with the cork board and 2 with the dryer erase board, and we're going to bring them together with some wood glue and some hot glue. These units are so expensive at different stores, and even if these come together for $20, you are still saving so much money because these are well overpriced $20, plus the excitement of being able to customize it how you would like. So once I've got 2 of them glued together for the top and the bottom, I'm now going to bring those together. I'm again using some wood glue and some hot glue to joint them so that it has a long-term hold with the wood glue and a short-term hold as that hot glue keeps it in place while the wood glue dries. We're going to go ahead and bring them all together, and then I don't trust it like this alone. I want to support the back side of it. So I'm going to take one of these yard painter sticks, and we're going to just simply use some more of that wood glue and hot glue combo, stick that onto the seam of the back, and this is going to really strengthen it at this point. Now again, wanting to make sure the other joints are locked in nice and strong, I'm also going to come in with some painter sticks that are shorter. I think these are about 13 inches, 14 inches, I can't remember. But I'm going to go ahead and take some of that and glue the same combo onto the other joints. Now you can see that I did break off some of it. I just snapped it right where the handle part is. It snapped pretty easy, and then I just glued it into place. Now again, wanting to make sure it's nice and strong, I'm just going to pop some of my staples in with my staple gun. And at this point, we have built the coolest wall organization piece, and we're going to use some twine. I cut 2 pieces the same length. I'm going to fold them in half so that we have a little spot to be able to hang this up on a screw or a hook on your wall. And then I'm going to just simply staple that onto the wood and then add some glue to help reinforce that twine so it doesn't have any issues coming off. I hope you felt inspired with these spring projects. Leave a comment down below to let me know which one you like, which one you think you might try, or if you've tried any of these techniques before. Thank you all so much for being here. Don't forget, I'm posting on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I'm going to recommend this video right here just in case you missed it the other day. Thanks so much for being here again, and until the next episode, bye friends.